Today is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015. My name is Gail G. Trell, and it is my honor and privilege today to interview Luba and Harry Weinroth in their home at 34 Nob Hill Road.
Lane.
Lane, thank you. In Stamford, Connecticut. This is all for the Jewish Historical Society of Fairfield County. And we will begin. So, good afternoon, Harry and Luba.
Good afternoon.
We'll begin with your story so that it can be preserved for your family and for the community of Stamford. We'll start with when you were born. Your birthday?
February the 20th, 25.
Okay. And Luba, your birthday?
July 30th, 1932.
All right. And where were you born?
In Poland, Sosnowiec.
And
Warsaw, Poland.
okay. So we'll find out. The question is, tell us a little bit about your parents.
Well, my father was a top watchmaker in town, and they made a get-together from old watchmakers. And my father went to that meeting. I just remember I was staying outside and playing ball, and my father hollered from the truck, "Tell mommy to make ready a valise with pajama or whatever, shirt,
Right.
because they're taking me away to a camp." And this was right in the beginning, because we were living almost on the border from Germany. So when the war broke out, 10 minutes later they were in town.
And when was this? How old were you?
I was 13.
13.
And what else you want to know?
And your mother, did she have a career?
My mother, yeah, had a career with 6 kids. This was the
Good
career.
career. So were you the youngest? Were you
I was the second.
second?
Sophie was the oldest.
Oldest. Okay.
And then I came, and there was 4 others.
So what was your father's name and your mother's name?
My father's name was Laser. You want me to spell it? No. And my mother's was Sala. From home, her name was Vilcek.
So let's find out about Luba's background. You tell us about your parents.
My parents, we lived in Warsaw, the whole family. My father was a tailor. He made ladies' coats and suits. And my mother was working too, because they wanted to have a nice apartment and everything. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, was taking care of me. She lived with us.
Let me have their names.
My mother's name was Manya. My father's name was Moshe. And my grandmother's name was Frida.
And were there other children? You were
At
no.
that time, no. I was alone.
Only.
Just one child. And I was 7 when the war broke out. But as I'm talking to you, I see the whole apartment and everybody in the street, what was on the street. That I didn't forget. It's on your, I was outside when, with my father, when the planes started going high up, and people used to say, oh, they probably came to help us. But it was the German planes, they were high, so they realized. So we all went into the buildings. And after that they were bombing.
So now where we have you in the story, what happens next? Your father was taken away.
My father was taken away and he went to a German camp. I remember the name. It was Niederkirch.
Okay.
That was his first camp. So he hollered from the bus.
Where you said that already.
Yeah, that my mother should get ready a valise, you know, with his, you know, stuff. And they took him away. And my God, we were all youngsters in that time. They took him away and we didn't hear from him at least 3-4 months. Finally we got once a letter where he is at, and we start to write back and forth, you know, with him. And the only way that my father should come back, they had to have the same name, somebody. So I was the oldest son. So my mother convinced me, because she read the Jewish paper, and she said in 6 weeks the war gonna be over. So I followed her, and
You went to camp.
I went to camp. Maybe I would say almost a year.
No, less than that. A few months. Until your father got back?
No, my father got back probably between the year. He got back because my mother went to the Jewish outfit over there, and she made a big commotion and cried. He got 6 kids home, and you know, nobody's around.
In the beginning you could do that.
And we had to fight a big store, a jewelry store. Couldn't make a living. So
They finally sent them back.
they finally sent them back.
They sent him back, but you were
Oh, I was in.
you were
I was in for good.
in the same camp?
No.
No, I was in, this was, the first camp was Kochanowicz. Was still in Poland. Kochanowicz. And from then I went to Germany, to Brande. It was a very bad camp. And they took me in. I was always afraid for a dog. So they let maybe 50, 60 dogs, the German shepherds, and us, and the whole people, I don't have to tell you know, jumping on you and things like that. This was the good morning. And the next day they put us in, you know, where we're gonna work, for which firm. There were so many firms over there.
Right.
The biggest was Krupp, and I was working for Krupp.
What did you do?
Oh, I was working, the first was the wells, you know, water. I was looking for water.
Digging for wells.
Digging for wells.
This was my first job. And I was with that job, I would say, maybe 6-7 months. After that, they took out 351 youngsters, and they sent us to Russia. So we went to Russia, this was in 41. We went to Russia, and was in the wagon where we were staying was 90 fellows. So the German who took care of us in the wagon, he came in and he made like 3/4. The wagon was for him and the rest was for us. And the next day we went to work, you know. It was big factories they made. And
What were they making in the factory?
anything you want, you know, for the German,
Okay.
you know. So this is what we done, this was our job.
Yeah, but what about the railroad? To make the glides?
Yeah, so what we done, our job was the Russian railroad was 9 centimeter wider than the whole Europe. So they had to unload everything. So they fell on an idea that they're gonna make this narrower, that they can go right to the front towards Leningrad. And this is what we done. This was my job. You know, they always call me das Kind. I was a young fellow. And
They
we,
send you to town?
they sent us to camp. It was a camp. It was a camp. Because they had like horses and things like that, you know. So they load us in, and every day we went to work, you know, to make different things for them. And I was there, I would say, almost a year working on that place.
Can you share what it was like in there? What kind of food you were getting?
Food was one thing. In the morning was a little like black coffee,
It wasn't coffee, it was
I don't know, Sigoria, whatever it
something that
was.
looks like coffee.
Yeah, and a small piece of bread. This was the breakfast. This was the breakfast till about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You know, this was, they didn't care if somebody, you know, died or what, they didn't care. And
Was there lunch?
lunch was no lunch.
No lunch.
No lunch. It was right through. You're working till you went home.
And home to the train.
Train.
Home.
So when we came back, I don't think so we were washing up. I don't think so. So they gave us like a soup and also like a slice of bread. This was in the next day. And when we went to bed, it was 3 floors. you know, with straw,
Bunk beds.
bunk beds, you know, straw, something like that.
It's just shells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by 10 o'clock was everybody had to be in, because 4 o'clock in the morning, you're up. 4 o'clock in the morning, it was the same thing. We went, it was outside, you know, like toilets and things like that. Washed up a little bit and went to work. And, you know, and with us was quite a few Russians. And they were trying, you know, to run away. And the minute they caught them, shot them right away dead. No questions asked. They made this that you should be afraid. You know, if you want to run away,
Yes.
that's what you get. So this was going on over there, I would say almost a year I worked on the place. From there, they took us to Russia.
You were already in Russia. You said that this
Yeah.
was in Russia. You went back.
Yeah. So when they took us to Russia, so our job was,
You said that already.
yes,
You told them that. Now you talk about going back to Germany.
or from
From
Russia.
Russia, yes.
From Russia, yeah.
But also you
Was like that.
more than half died.
Oh yeah, maybe 120 came back. And what can I tell you?
But they helped them to get better. I don't know why.
In Germany?
In Germany. I don't know, they put us in like a, what was it, like a, it was also in a camp, but, you know, like
Like
when-
the Red Cross. they
when
had
I
something.
came, you know, I had frozen toes and everything, you know.
But they helped them out.
And this is,
Very nice.
they help you think, you know.
And from there, where did you go? Where did they send you?
From there, they took us to Germany.
In what camp?
And we started in Brande. Brande was very bad camp, very bad camp. Was no food, was, what can I tell you? It's, people were falling like flies, you know, and nobody cared for you, you know. And the minute you go down, you know, you fell down or something like that, it was in the back. It was a guy with a gun, and he knocked off the people. This was, the minute you went down, you know that you go.
And from there, where did you go?
From there, we went to another camp in Germany. It was like they were talking, it was like a Erholungslager that we should make better. And the name was Annaberg. And we were there, I would say maybe 4 months. Over there they were treating us a little bit better. Was a little more food, you know, and mostly everybody, you know, all couldn't walk, or so they had to take care of you. And well, we didn't have any nurses, so everything was man. And
From there, you went to another camp.
from there we went to another camp till we reached a big one, Rosen. This was the worst. this was the worst. Transports came every day in the thousands, in the thousands. That's all what you heard, shooting, shooting.
Didn't have enough
This,
time for it.
yeah. And I was there not too long, I would say maybe 4 months. I was there, and Krupp, they had so many factories, so they put you to which, you know, and mine was to work on water, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Look for more wells.
Well, yes, this was my job. But my job was, because I was a youngster, and when you use the hammer or whatever it is, you broke that thing, you had to go to town and fix it. So I
Okay.
was the one
And after that, where did you go?
from
Gross Rosen.
Grossrosen. From Grossrosen we went back to Annaberg. They were calling
No, yeah, they kept sending you from one camp to another.
from one
Because
camp
so
to
many
another.
camps.
From one camp. I was maybe in 15.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
at least 15. And they sent us,
At the end, you were in Dachau.
oh
No,
no,
in Buchenwald.
Buchenwald was far away.
You don't have to tell us all the camps.
you don't have to.
Just the last one. Where was the last one?
The last camp was Dachau.
And what was it like when they said it's done?
No,
No?
because they started taking the people out of Dachau. They knew that the end of the war is coming. So they got them out and they were walking away someplace into the, wherever they wanted them to go, or either kill them or just get them away from there. So he was on a train when the war ended.
Okay. And the train, heading to another camp,
Yes,
but then the war was
To
over.
the mountains or something.
So when it was over and you found you were free, where did you go?
staying in camp. And every day transports,
No, after the war.
After the war.
After the war.
yeah, transports of people came,
Okay.
you know, to our camp, because
Right.
ours was the name, Felderfink, was a big camp.
It used to be a school for these young kids, German
German kids,
German Jugend.
Hitler Jugend. And
The Americans took it over.
yeah, over there was a little bit better because the American gave us already better food and things like that.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know.
why a lot of people died, because
Yeah.
they didn't know you're not supposed to give them
Oh,
real
yeah,
food,
sure.
because nobody was used to it, people died
People went into the bathroom,
and never came out.
like we were 4 guys. 2 went into the bathroom. And they
Didn't
looked
come
for them, couldn't find them. So we decided, let's go over and give a look in the toilet where they are, laying there.
Because of the food.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, they didn't know
Too
not to
much
do-
nourishment.
Because
Yeah.
anything you grabbed, you ate. And I didn't know what I ate, I had no idea.
Yeah, because your brother-in-law, which wasn't brother-in-law, didn't let him eat. He
was-
found some farina in a German house, and he cooked farina, because he was a few years older than him. For him, that he shouldn't eat all that stuff. and he
Sophie's husband.
survived. Yeah.
Yes. So she had been married at the
No, no,
time?
no.
No.
But he was his future.
Good,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
They knew each other,
Okay.
but they didn't go
because they were
out.
living on the same street.
So you knew him.
Yeah, I only knew him from seeing
From
him.
seeing him.
Okay.
So that was it?
Yeah, they got married and
But where did you go when you went home? Afterwards?
No,
There was no
we
home.
stayed in that, there was no
Camp.
home.
And then where did you go from there?
To the United States, here,
Okay, how did you get here to the United States?
through the highest.
You registered,
Okay.
was like 4 countries.
Mhm.
Was America, was Australia, Canada, and some other one.
Israel, maybe?
Argentina.
Maybe it was Israel.
That's where they
Well,
wanted to
they
go.
wanted-
And why did you choose America?
Because the
You-
first one was
You
America.
didn't choose.
Okay. I thought you got to choose.
No, 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 no. Whoever called you first,
Yeah.
that's where you went.
Okay.
So this was the first country was America.
All right. So before you get there, let's find out what Luba was doing while you were in the camps. What's your
I was
story?
going all over the world. I don't have it written down in the German things that we ran away. We were, when the war was ended, we were in Poland.
What were you doing during the war, though? Did you haven't lived a
Yes.
regular life?
Yes. We went, my father went away when the Germans came in. Like, they were catching men on the street, so my father ran away with a lot of them to the other side where the Russians were. And he didn't want to, he was there a few weeks, and he said, what am I going to do by myself? I have to go and bring my family. So he smuggled back into Poland and came to us. And my mother said, I'm not going, I have such a beautiful apartment and everything, I'm going to leave it. He says, okay, then I'm staying too. And she said, no, you can't, because it's even worse now than it was before. So they decided to go. So we smuggled out of
And
Germany.
did you go?
My mother, me, my father, and my grandmother.
Mhm.
And we smuggled out to the other side, Bialystok. The Russians were there. And we stayed there at somebody's house. You know, you Jewish people let people in because there was so many. Until the Russians decided to send us out of there because you couldn't stay there. So they sent us to Siberia. And it took weeks before we got there on
She
those
didn't
trains.
pay for the trip.
And it was horrible. It was so cold. It was winter and the snow was so high. I couldn't see over the snow. I was too small. They sent me to school. We had to walk to the school. And then the teacher had a thing of warm water and took the shoes off from everybody's children and put the feet in because you were frozen to warm it up. And my mother had to go to work. So they put her to build houses. And my father the same. And it was bad, really bad. We had ice on the wall. And I said, Mom, why is there ice on the wall? Because there was nothing to make fire, to make it warm. And they saw that if we stayed there, we're not going to stay alive. Because you didn't have enough food. They didn't themselves have enough food, the Russians. But it was very bad there for us. So he got friendly with one of I was going to say nachalnik, that's in Russian. Like a foreman or something, where he worked. And he got some whiskey to give him, and that's what they liked. And he said, you know, if you could give me a piece of paper that I can go on the train with my family, I'll make you something. I'm a tailor. So anyway, he did. And
What did he make him?
a shirt, like a jacket. And he gave us this piece of paper that you can travel at night. And he said, but you have to go at night at 1 o'clock when nobody sees you. There is a train that's going to come. Otherwise, they're going to kill me. And we got out of there. I've never heard of anybody getting out of Siberia. I know a lot of people that were all over in Siberia. They had to wait till the end of the war. And we got out there and we went to a big city, Kharkov and Saratov. We were all over the place. You couldn't find room to get anywhere to live because they had so many people there. And my mother, they said that they have to put me where the kids are, like a daycare. So I went there. And then I said to my mother, you know, we went to Moscow. And I said to Mom, we have to go and look at something here because we're never going to stay here. 7 years old, but I
Yeah.
always wanted to see. So we did go around and we saw, I saw Lenin, I have it now, laying in that thing where you could see him. And the subways, marble, and the crystal chandeliers were gorgeous in Moscow. But we couldn't stay there, we stayed there 10 days. And then they evacuated everybody because the war started closer and closer with the Russians, with the Germans. So we started going further away from there. At one point, at one city, there was a Polish army that you could register to be with them because we were from Poland. And they went to close to Israel someplace. Anyway, we couldn't go with them because when my father registered and all that, when he saw the name, it was Kirschenblatt. That's the Jewish name. He didn't look Jewish, neither did I. But the guy said to him, well, you're Jewish, you can't go with us if you're Jewish. If you write down that you're Polish, you're not Jewish, you can go with us. My father said, no, I don't want to do that. So he let them go and we stayed ourselves. But we had to get out of there, so we got onto a train again and we traveled weeks and weeks through every country that you see on there when they had the war with Afghanistan and all that. I said, oh my God, I was there, everywhere.
Where did you have the money to travel?
We didn't have money.
You didn't?
We had clothes that we put one on top of another when we left. So if you took a nightgown and you sold it to them, they wore it as a dress on the street because they didn't have dresses that looked as good as a nightgown. Things like that. We got rid of things from us to get food and all that. So we wound up in Tashkent, which is Uzbekistan. And then we went further. We couldn't stay in the big city because there was not enough room. They said if you go, we were on a, see, I'm remembering what it's called in Russian, a wagon that had these huge wheels, just 2 wheels on each side. An arba it was called in Arabic, with a horse, and we got one of those guys and he took us to a smaller place. It was Jalabat, another town. So, but it was a lot of people from Poland and Jewish people. And my father went to work. They sent him to pick cotton until he told them, I can do something. You have a factory, I can sew and make this and that. Finally, they did give him a job in the factory. So, and we stayed there. We got a little hut that was made from lime, really, earth, whatever they did. An old Uzbek babushka, she lived there and she gave us, we can stay in that room. But after one day it was raining very hard. When I woke up in the morning, one wall was missing. It fell off from the rain. So they fixed it again. So we stayed there until the end of the war. And my father worked and he would make them something, so they brought him material to make something. And then he said, well, if you go to the bakery in the middle of the night, I'll tell them that you're going to come, you can get bread. That's how we survived the whole time. And my mother used to make sandals from, the inlay of a tire from a truck. They used to throw that away. So my mother started cutting and making sandals. And she sewed it up for us. And then other people said, where did you get this? She said, she made it. So she started making it for everybody else. When the war was ended, my mother was pregnant with my sister that lives here. And they knew that there's going to be a time, some months, that they're going to let everybody go back, if whoever wants to go back to Poland. And my parents said, if we wait, you're going to have the baby, we won't be able to go, and then we're stuck forever. If you don't go when they tell you, you can't go anymore. So we got out of there again, on our own, on a train. It took us 4 weeks to get from Poland to, Russia to Poland again. And when we were 2 weeks in Poland, my mother gave birth to my sister in Krakow, so we stayed there for a year because she was so sick that the doctor said you can't travel. And then my father said, I'm not staying here with the Russians again, we had enough. So we smuggled out of there to the other side, to the Germany, because that was closed. And we went in Berlin, we stayed in Berlin.
The war was over by then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we stayed in a camp that they used to have for their own, I guess. Just out in Berlin, it was outside of Berlin. For 3 years until they had to evacuate us because the Russians didn't let, there was a blockade. They didn't let the Americans to bring over the air food to the camp or anything because they were around. So we had to go to the other side where it was Munich and Feldafing. That's where I met him.
Okay, so how did you meet?
Just like
And
that.
but you were how old though by then? How old were you?
18.
Okay. So you met.
No, I wasn't 18. What am I saying? I must have been 16.
You're 16 and you
Yeah.
met Harry where?
In the camp, we went to. They had dances for people, so we went. I had a girlfriend. From Russia, so we went together, and he went with his friend, and we started dancing, and that's what happened.
Okay.
But then nothing happened because he left. He came here in 1949.
Okay, that's what we're getting to that.
And we stayed until 1951.
Okay. So when you left to go to America, how did you get to America?
On a boat.
On the boat.
Do you know which boat? Do you know the name?
Yeah.
General Eltimere.
And then it took you where? To Ellis
New
Island?
York.
No, to
No,
New York.
Ellis Island was closed.
It was closed by
Close,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what year? 1949 you
49.
say?
Yeah.
1949. So no more Ellis Island, you just went to New York.
Yeah.
And what did you do when you got to New York?
Went to the highest.
First me,
No, you went on the airport. They
yeah,
told
but they had, you see, the Jewish
it's the highest.
organization
Yeah, the
here.
highest. They,
Everybody took in so many people.
Okay.
So they took my sister and my brother-in-law and Morris.
to Stanford.
So my sister, you know, she was a crybaby. She cried, I would never leave my brother there.
Because he didn't have they didn't have it written down that he should come to Stanford. He was supposed to go to California.
I supposed to go to, where was it? I always forget the
Yeah.
town
It wasn't Los Angeles, someplace outside there.
outside of Los Angeles.
But so they decided not to send him because they didn't want to.
Yeah, but my luggage went.
there.
My luggage went.
Yeah, 4
Times
weeks
have
later.
not changed.
No.
And I came here, right to Stanford.
With Sophie and
Jack and
Jack.
Morris.
Jack and Morris
Yeah.
Glucksman.
Yes.
Okay, we've got to get that on the camera.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Give them credit, Glucksman. But they were told to come to Stanford,
Yes.
Yes.
and you followed them.
That's right.
And when you got to Stanford, what did you do?
Well, he got a job.
I got
Right
a
away.
job.
Doing
because
what?
I was a
Watchmaking.
watchmaker
What? Where did you work?
in Germany when I was
No,
liberated.
but when you got to Stanford and you became a watchmaker,
Yeah.
you worked for yourself?
No, not right now. Right away, no. You worked for, what's his name, the one that had the jewelry
Oh
shop?
yeah, for Rossman Jewelers. He was next door to the Trells,
Hobby shop.
hobby shop, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, he was a very good payer. He paid me like 75 cents an hour.
Well, that's how it
Yeah.
was then. But he didn't like to work for anybody. He wanted to
Yeah,
be for
I-
himself.
So how long were you there before Luba came to Stanford? Or
2 years.
so you came
More.
straight
I
to
came-
Stanford?
No. I came with my parents to New York.
To New York, and how did you stay in touch?
Oh, you know how? We didn't stay in touch because he didn't write. I had no idea where he is.
How did you find him?
I didn't. He found me because
Your father.
he used to come to New York. He had a friend here that they used to go out with girls to go dancing in Manhattan, a lot European people. And once he was in a place like that, and another young lady that knew me and knew him, she was there with her future husband. And he said, Harry, do you know who I saw here? I saw Luba, you know, the girl with the blonde braids. He said, really? Where did you see her? Every Sunday, everybody that lived in New York, New Jersey, anywhere, would go in by Manhattan, where the highest was, on 14th Lafayette Street.
Yeah.
And the whole block was, no cars were going by, because there were people. And everybody would wait for new people that came every week, another boat came. So when we came to New York, they gave us in a hotel to sleep until we find an apartment on 34th Street. What was the name of the hotel? La Marquis Hotel. My mother said, this is great. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to clean. We had a room, it was fine. And we used to go to that building, highest, to eat, because they had a big dining room and you would come and eat there. So on Sunday we would go there too, from the hotel. My father took the bus and he went first because I wasn't ready. And he came in the morning to that place. And he saw my father, so
you knew her father?
because we knew in Feldafing we met, and we used to go dancing together, and he would come to us and all that. But then he wasn't in touch with me, but he knew my father. So he said, oh, Luba's going to come right away, and that's how we met, and that was it.
Okay.
That's where I got hooked in.
I got a job right away when we were still in the hotel, in a factory in Manhattan, to make bow ties. My father, the whole bread giver, could not get a job. It was very bad. They didn't give him a job. And I said, we have to have money to eat. So I took the job where they sent me, and I worked. They took young girls to make sew on the machine, and I could do that because I learned from my father. I showed them like straight line, and it was piecework.
Right.
So the more you made, the more money. I made $100 a week. You know what that was? Like 1,000 more than 1,000 now.
Wow.
So I had money for my parents, and after that I put away money, he put away money so we can make the wedding. But in the beginning, that's what we did.
I said the wedding. Where did you get married?
In Brooklyn. In Brooklyn.
Okay.
What year?
Pitkin Avenue.
Yeah, on Pitkin Avenue.
What year?
1952.
52 was, right?
Yeah.
63 years.
Yeah.
I deserve a medal, everybody says so.
Even that you said. That's not
Okay,
nice.
so now you're married and you moved to Stamford?
Yes.
When I was living in Stanford,
Where were you living? In Stamford? Where did you?
on Suburban Avenue.
No, but later on Sophie lived on Main Street.
Sophie was living on Main Street.
And you lived there too. When I got married, that's where they lived.
Yeah.
So we couldn't get an apartment, so first I stayed with them for a few weeks until we found an apartment.
And then you went on Somerville? Where?
No, he opened his first store on Main Street.
I found a small little store.
No, first he worked as a watchmaker, because for the jeweler
Right.
he only worked a few weeks.
Oh.
And across the street was a Max Diner, and there was a little store. There's a picture in the store with the.
We would love that picture. A
It's
copy of that picture.
It's in the store. You can,
Mhm.
and it's like a door that has two doors, you know, and just a little spot like that. So he sat down there and he was fixing watches. The lady from the diner, the mother, they were Irish, and when she saw him, she said, "Oh, this is just right for you." She charged him $25 for a
Right.
month.
Oh.
He said, "You don't have to put a telephone in, it's going to cost you too much. You can use the telephone in the diner, and if you get a phone call," she told her son, "bang on the wall, he's going to
It was
come in."
4 sons.
So
She told him,
son,
never raise money."
anything. Even later, he was making money. He wanted to give them more. She wouldn't take anymore. So he stayed there
So he gave me for the $25 and I stayed there 7 years.
No, not that long.
Yes.
And then you opened on Main Street next to the bakery.
Yeah, so when next to the bakery, he was building
Yes, that
new,
was the
new
store.
stores.
So he opened the store.
So I took a store, I went from $25 to $250
That was a lot of money.
a month.
Right?
But I had the guts and I went.
So you were
Because
just,
you see, I knew the trade. And they were looking for a good watchman here. And I had the name. Go over to Harry, whatever you put down on the table, he will fix the watch.
so you were fixing watches?
Oh yeah,
Fixing
sure.
Were you selling any,
In the bigger store, yes.
Yeah, the
Okay.
biggest store.
you went and,
I started off with straps, leather straps, then watch bands. And you know,
Slowly.
that's how a watchmaker starts,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
and
but in the bigger store, he bought a little bit of
so what was
jewelry.
it called then? What was the?
Harry's Jewelers.
Harry's Jewelers.
Yes. Even
And-
now people come in and they remember the Harry's jewelers.
And then when I took the store, the larger one was Mrs. Brown. She says, it's not a nice name.
That was already on Bedford.
Bedford
We
Street.
had to move because they were going to build the
The
95.
throwaway.
Yes.
So they
That
we
was
had to
what
move.
year? What was that year?
That was
For,
60?
yeah.
It wasn't the 60s.
It was in the
The
60s, yeah.
60s, early
Okay,
60s.
so the 60s, the 95 was coming through, we're
Yeah.
gonna take away your store.
Yeah.
So you had to move.
So we moved to Bedford
Yeah.
Street.
So I moved to Bedford.
What number of Bedford Street?
77?
No. 235?
235 was on Main Street.
235 was my
And then it was 77.
77 maybe. Yeah.
On Bedford Street.
Bedford
And so what happened with the name change?
On Bedford Street, we decided to make Bedford Jewelers instead of
And
Harry's.
the landlady who gave me the store, she was a tough one, but she liked me very much. And she says, put another name.
It's going to be nicer than just Harry's.
So made
It
Bedford
should be
Jewelers.
more.
So I make it Bedford Jewelers, was like it. But I was known for one thing. Whatever you put down on the table, he will fix it.
Well, in the beginning he did that until I said, Harry, we're never going to be able to pay anything. You have to charge more.
How much was the rent on Bedford Street?
$250.
Oh, that was on Bedford.
Yeah.
And I remember our lawyer, Sherman. That
Yeah,
was his
he
first
was
name.
a diamond.
Yeah.
Oh,
He liked me so much, and he told me what to do. And
But he was
everything.
he was worried when we were going to take the store on Bedford.
Yeah. Joseph Sherman.
Joseph Sherman.
Joseph
Yeah.
Sherman.
Yeah.
Because once he saw me on the street and we talked, he says, are you sure what you're doing the right thing? It's so much more money, you know. I said, yeah, I know that he's going to be okay. He's fine, don't worry. I'm telling him, don't
You
worry.
see, I learned from my father. In Germany, I already knew how to turn everything. Buy, sell, you know, everything, you know. This was,
Well, you were born like
Yeah,
that.
I
because
was born
that's
in
what
it.
they were like this.
So while he, in the store on Bedford Street, what were you doing at raising what were you doing? Were
I
you still
start-
working?
I know, I started working when my youngest son was 3. Then I took him to daycare. They had, because he needed somebody else to be in the store, so he couldn't sit and work and talk to people.
Right,
That's when I started working on Bedford Street.
okay. But
Not before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were living where by that time?
On
in
Bedford?
Frederick Street.
No, that was not. That was
Was still
before.
on Main Street.
When we were on Main Street, we lived on Frederick Street. That's in the back of on Chopin there on Cove Road.
Okay.
But later we bought the house on
Idlewood.
Idlewood Drive.
Yes.
So you lived in Idlewood Drive and you were down to Bedford Street. So while you were in the store, how the other store people on the street, how did you get along with them, or did you have an
they were-
association?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they did,
I
yeah,
got
but
along
that's
with them very well.
Who were some of your fellow store merchants?
Stevens Luggage.
Stevens Luggage was
And,
the main. It was
What
right
was the
next
name of
door.
the store, the shoe store where Bruno used to work?
I can only tell you one
Good
thing.
form.
Everybody was good to me. Everybody.
The people on the street, whoever had all the
They,
stores, they were all
they
nice.
liked me from the beginning.
Millersville, Lilliputian,
Yeah.
everybody.
So everybody knew. So, and in the watchmaking was always put in a pin, put in a this and this. No charge, no charge. And that's how I made my...
He never advertised for his store, never. But he did it like that.
So your customers came to you
Yeah, sure.
from word of mouth.
Yeah.
Well, they started off because I went to night school.
You
Oh, when
did.
he first came, he
Bur-
went to
was
night school
the
to
Bur-
learn English.
boarding.
Burdick.
Yeah. So I went to night school every night or 3 times a week. I went special to learn,
Learn
you know.
English.
Yeah, he came without English.
And you
unfortunately.
knew English?
I learned. I started learning English in Russia. When I was 8, 9, they taught you English in school. Not a lot, but I understood already. So when I was in Berlin, when we came to Berlin, they opened the school for all the kids, different ages, but we were all together. And we learned, we had a teacher from England, we learned English, a teacher from Israel to learn Hebrew, and to learn English, German. All 3 of them we learned together. So I was learning
So
all
how
3
many
languages.
languages can you speak?
A lot.
Okay. So did you find at all any anti-Semitism while you were in the store?
Here?
Yes.
Very little, very little,
No, at that time it was.
very little. First of all, I got every Polak. Whoever was from Poland.
Oh, they came
I
because
got
they
it,
could
they-
speak Polish
you
to
know.
us, so
So
they were happy.
I
Yeah, but
was-
some of them weren't so happy either.
But, mostly, they came in, they were like home, speaking Polish, and, I was the comrade,
Yeah, but
So did you get involved with any of the Jewish organizations or affiliate with the congregation?
Yes, I went to Rabbi Ehrenkranz, took me right away in, and he was so happy,
because
I was
he
a
came
Kohen.
here by himself,
a
didn't have
Kohen,
anybody.
so he was so happy to have a Kohen in the shul, and so he got me in.
He used to take you to ball games in
And
New York.
He used to take me mostly every week to ball games, to restaurants. He was a lifesaver for me.
And you were for him because
Yeah.
he spoke Jewish.
He
and
was
knew
so
Jewish
happy
too.
to learn Jewish,
Yiddish.
so-
Yiddish.
Yiddish.
So he was your buddy.
Oh yeah, sure.
And,
we were living together in the same building.
Which
on
was
on Suburban Avenue.
Suburban Avenue.
Yeah,
Who was the landlady? Do you remember?
Epstein.
Yes.
Epstein.
Did,
The Epsteins, she was cooking for my sister, for me, things like that, And I tell you the truth, when we stopped, he wanted to hear from me what was going on in Europe, things like that. He was an old man. And one day I come in, I sit there, and he
Peeled the potatoes.
peeled the potatoes, and then the nose was running, and he peeled the potatoes. I went to my sister and I said, "This is the end. If not, I go back to Europe. I am not staying here." I said, "I'm sorry. We were pretty wealthy,
I have to clap with him.
pretty wealthy,
My-
and
well, we're kind of almost finished. So did you get involved at all with the Jewish Center?
Not much.
Not much.
He's always busy working.
I know, okay, that's true. The children, tell us about your children.
Yeah, we had Larry first, and then Ruth, and then Seth. Larry and Ruth went to bicultural. Seth didn't. He didn't want to. But he made out good anyway. And, we were busy, and I was working. And it was fine.
Stamford was a
And you're
good
still
town.
working together?
Yeah.
Yes.
We always
Stamford was
did
a
work
good
together.
town.
Is that
So
something?
when you left Bedford Street, you moved the store to Harvard Road?
That's when he retired. The kids took over.
Oh, okay.
Kids
So
took over.
when did you retire? You're not.
About 16 years ago.
Yeah, I would say so.
So how many years have you been on Harvard Road?
16 or 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you retired, the children opened up Bedford Street Jeweler on Harvard Road?
Yeah.
Oh, right. We wanted to know how you got the name Harry.
Oh, because I went and
When you came.
when I came, so they asked me, what's the name?
You talk.
I said, Chaim. So they couldn't follow what is Chaim. So in that time Truman was the president, and his name was Harry. So they said H. So they gave me the name Harry, and that's how I stayed with Harry.
Okay. So one last little question about economics.
Yes.
When the economics changed, how did it affect your business? Did it?
I had for better.
No, here, when the economics. He
Economics,
was okay
yeah.
because he was always repairing stuff.
You see, watchmaking I made a living on the bench, you see, and selling was like a side job. So that's how I made a few dollars, that's how I brought up the kids, and that's the way it worked. Well, it was a good town. Stamford is top town.
Do you like the changes in Stamford? I mean, when you came in, it was the town of Stamford,
Yeah.
and now it's the city of Stamford.
Stamford, yeah.
And how does that affect you in any way?
No, but I don't like it. It's too much, too busy. It's New York with all these cars and you can't, one-way streets and everything. You live in Stamford so many years, you have to think well before you go someplace, but you can't make a turn there because it's a one-way street. But that's what it is, and these tall buildings. But that's progress, I guess.
So is there anything else that you would like to have on this DVD? Something to say about living in Stamford, being Jewish in Stamford, being Jewish merchant?
Well, I can only say about, the Jewish people came to me. I had many customers from the Jewish city. And, some of them good, some of them bad, what can I tell you?
But
Yeah.
it's nice.
Yeah.
This is like our home because we never had a home to stay in that long. So it's even though you're not married, you're not born here, it's still our city. And it's nice because you knew everybody. Now it's not so many people, but as we know, but it's still great to be here. It's a good town.
Well, I brought so many families to Stamford.
Yeah, because of him, a lot of others came here. They're gone now, but
you know.
Right.
But I brought them over here.
the Websters,
I don't say that I
official,
paid for the fare,
No.
they
but
just came from New York.
but the minute they came here, they didn't want to go no place. I only know Harry. So everything was Harry, and thank God that I had as a wife, because every single day he had to go, buy used furniture, look for a mattress,
The food, to buy food for them. He had a car, so they
and
did.
I had a car already, so Friday I took him shopping, and then I had to go upstairs 3, 4 floors and bring it up, because I would never let a woman do it, you know. So this was my job, you know. But unfortunately, mostly everybody's gone.
So do we have? Thank you, thank you, thank you. You will get a copy of this.
Okay, it's
And
nice
give to
having
your
you here.
children, right? We're about to add the pictorial version when Harry and his family, Luba and their son and daughter-in-law, went to the 70th anniversary of Liberation. And these photos at Buchenwald. Here's
This was a camp.
This was an airport photo at Weimar, Germany in April of 2015.
And to identify the people.
And we have Harry and Luba sitting down, and above them are Seth
and Dina.
And Dina. And Luba, you can tell us what this is.
This is a picture outside of the hotel. A lot of the people that used to be in that camp came from all over the world. Australia, Germany, Israel, Poland, everywhere. And Harry's sitting right there. And this man has one of those, see, and him too.
They kept their uniform.
They kept the uniform. Instead of having it in a museum, they kept it. This is Buchenwald. This is one of the barracks that it was very bad. People used to go in there and never used to come out alive.
Buchenwald was a terrible camp.
Well, that's the camp. The barracks are gone. There's only one barrack that they have left.
As a museum.
Yeah, and this was all barracks. If you look at.
Would you believe it that I got from Buchenwald? They found my paper. The Germans kept it.
Oh, and do you have it? Or
Yeah.
We have it, yeah.
Well, that we can make a copy of that and put it in our
I'm going to
archives.
take a look if I can find it. This is the small camp where they used to murder people in there. In Buchenwald, all that. That's one of the inmates. And this is, they had the names of the countries from wherever you came. There.
Oh, and so Harry's putting flower or something?
Yeah, they had flowers because they had this whole commemoration where they had. See, a lot of people are putting the flowers there.
And what city was it that you were putting it down for?
That's Weimar.
Weimar.
Weimar, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the camp was. But
Ooh,
that was his block.
that was,
See, they have the name of the block from each block where you were. So Harry was in 28, 28. No, 78, 28.
28, block 28.
See, this is with the, from all the countries. They have the people that were there. They made them big on TV and in the papers. It was all over the place.
Right.
Would you believe it? I tell you.
Oh, this is it.
Okay, here's a copy of the paper of Chaim Weinroth.
Yes.
But you have the actual one, yes?
It's a copy.
That's a
also.
copy of, yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah. This is that office where they got it from, the copies they have everything.
But can you imagine that they kept things like that?
They always do.
They're very good record keepers.
Yes, they do. Oh, this is Sophie Glucksmann's granddaughter, Morris's daughter, and this is her daughter, so his granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
She came to visit us because she lives in Germany. And that's in the dining room in the hotel in Germany. They had dinners for us with the governor and everybody else was there from them.
That's it.
That's it.
Beautiful.